Hi, I'm Reverend Jake Sabe, and welcome to Children's Bible Stories. Alright children, on today's video we're going to do another apocrypha story of an early church legend regarding the apostles. This is the story of Philip and the dragon. Now, there are many different legends and accounts of the apostles, but according to the most common tradition, Philip and his friend Nathaniel Bartholomew both went up preaching the gospel in the land of Scythia, joined by Philip's sister Miriam. Now, as we mentioned in the St. Thomas video, when St. Thomas went to India, Bartholomew had been preaching with Thomas in the land of Parthia and had even gone down into India before returning to the land of Armenia, which is kind of up where Scythia is as well. So it's possible that Bartholomew had gone off with Thomas, preached the gospel in India, and then later came up to Scythia to preach the gospel with his old friend Philip. Now, as we mentioned in the St. Thomas in India video, Bartholomew was killed in Armenia. As for Philip, he would later be killed back in the city of Hierapolis in what is modern-day Turkey, back in Anatolia. But we will get to that later. Now, according to the legend of Philip and the dragon, Philip was up preaching the gospel in Scythia, and he was speaking against the temple of the false god Mars. And the temple priests were not happy that he was preaching against their god. So, they grabbed Philip and they dragged him into the temple of Mars. And they were going to sacrifice him to Mars. But according to the legend, it wasn't the statue of Mars that was killing people. Instead, living in the temple, in the basement, was a terrifying dragon, a big serpent-like dragon. And it is said that this dragon didn't breathe fire. Instead, he breathed out like a poisonous breath that made people sick. Now, since Philip's dragon didn't breathe fire, but instead had a poisonous breath, this might help us to identify what dinosaur this could be. There is a dinosaur known as a Dilophosaurus, which in the Jurassic Park movies is depicted as being able to spit acid or venom. And while some scientists don't think that the Dilophosaurus was able to do that, there is some scientists that theorize that the Dilophosaurus or other dinosaurs did possess the ability to spit venom at their prey or at predators who were trying to attack them. And so it is possible that Philip's dragon could be a Dilophosaurus, and that this is what is meant by having the poisonous breath. And according to the legend, the dragon came out, and the priests were going to sacrifice Philip to the dragon. But instead, God kept Philip safe, and the dragon instead killed the son of the chief priest and also the two officials that were holding Philip prisoner. And everyone was terrified by this. And Philip then, according to different traditions, either banished the dragon out into the desert or killed the dragon. Either way, the dragon was no more. Then Philip, using the power of God, resurrected the three men who'd been killed by the dragon. And then they tore down all the statues of the pagan god Mars and turned the temple now into a church. And that, children, is the story of Philip and the dragon. As for the rest of Philip's life, according to the traditions, he went down to the city of Hierapolis in Anatolia, which is today modern-day Turkey, and there he also fought with a heretical Christian group known as the Ebionites, which is a Greek word for Hebrews. The Ebionites were kind of like Jewish Christians that didn't believe that Jesus was fully God or God incarnate. The Ebionites were adoptionists. And so what that meant is that they believed Jesus was just a great messianic prophet, similar to Moses and Elijah and the prophets of the Old Testament, and that during his baptism by John the Baptist, then Jesus received special powers from on high, from God, but that Jesus wasn't God himself. And so Philip came and he rebuked them and excommunicated these people from the church and condemned them as heretics. As for Philip himself, it is here at Hierapolis that the unbelievers would first have him stoned and then crucified on a cross. And that is how Philip was martyred and passed on from this life into eternal life. And that then, children, is the story of Saint Philip. I've been your host, Reverend Jake Zabel. Goodbye and God bless.